This is TWiT.
Remember E3? Anybody?
Yeah, the video game conference
That they
so
announced and canceled 2 years in a row, and now have canceled.
Yeah,
and truly canceled.
The narrative is that this thing was killed by the pandemic. The reality is,
it was killed.
In-person events like this were killed because of the internet, frankly, and we're just so used to doing things virtually. There is. Okay, so somebody, sorry, in Discord, Redcon5 says, actually Blade came out a year before The Matrix, so that's cool. I'm surprised it wasn't even earlier. It feels a little older than that.
The thing that killed E3 is the fact that Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony stopped going.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I mean, when the big companies don't go, you got nothing, right?
Yeah. It's like Apple never goes to CES.
Right.
Although that didn't really kill it,
Apple
I guess.
Killed Macworld when they stopped going to Macworld Expo. They killed it dead.
But, and I would argue the consolidation of the gaming industry is what killed E3.
Right.
Okay.
Because it used to be there was 20 companies that were all vying for your attention to sell a game. Yeah. Now there's 3.
Right.
And if any one of them doesn't want to go, then none of them go, and you don't have a show.
Gamers are people who sit in front of a screen that can now show you anything you want to see, including coming games, right? Yeah. And we have technologies where they can kind of sample games without installing them, and it's a whole new world. And
but E3 was really for the buyers, right? These were
CES and Comdex were really for the buyers, back in the day. But they started letting people in, right? I mean,
it did, because it was fun and it brought up a lot of money, and and buzz is valuable. But ultimately, it was, where are we putting this on the shelves? What are our priorities for upcoming titles? And having the audience there to be excited about it was a good way to help you gauge.
Yeah. They still do, like Star Wars has events and people kind of cosplay. And obviously there are kind of Comic-Con type things like this. But a really big event like E3, it was probably just unsustainable.
Yeah, the other side of this is that you have the consolidated companies. They have enough money. They can just throw their own event.
Which they do.
Yeah,
that's right.
When it was 20 companies, nobody could draw enough audience to do their own event. Right. So they all came to one place.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah. It's, look, we don't have Comdex either. I mean, these things happen.
I miss Comdex.
I'm kind of surprised CES is still going strong.
I am too. And I'm surprised it's still so big in a way. But I refuse to go to CES. This is no way. And if I did go to CES, there is one way. I would not go to the show floor. I would go to the little company events that they have offsite in hotel suites or whatever they do, ballrooms and things. But Vegas makes it prohibitively expensive. It's hotels are awful. The getting around is awful. Just cabs and
it's a nightmare.
What do they call the thing?
This is degrees of evil. You could have had it at the Javits Center and you're paying Manhattan prices, right? Like,
that's the same. It's the same problem. And both places have great food and restaurants, and that's whatever. And Vegas has great shows, but it's just logistically, it's such a nightmare.
I remember going to summer CES at the McCormick Center in Chicago. When it was 100 degrees.
I've been there in Atlanta. Same thing. Summer CS. Yeah. Oh no, that was Summer Comdex.
Maybe it was Summer Comdex. I thought it was Summer CS.
I think it was Summer Comdex.
Oh, okay.
It could be both. We might be mixing things up. But there was. I think I went to Summer Comdex.
Yeah.
In
maybe
Atlanta.
That was it. Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
But where CES started making sense was the little guys. Right. Like you always
that
you knew Samsung was going to have an Epic booth and Microsoft would have an Epic booth, but it'd be some little guy who's been working in Shenzhen for the past 2 years to make his widget. Yeah, but he gets a minimum booth and he gets highlighted.
Microsoft is no longer at CES, but it doesn't affect it because you nailed it, because it's not there's no consolidation in the consumer electronics business. This is still highly fragmented.
Well, and one would argue it's been more fragmented than before. Right. Because of Shenzhen. Really?
Right.
Well, over by the Hilton or whatever that is now, that used to be like Asia area. It was just like that whole part of the thing that where Hilton and the South Hall kind of met or whatever was just all these little like it was almost like a flea market, and it was just little companies from Asia. And I don't know what it's like now.
The thing is, like, American designers, you move to Hong Kong for 6 months, and you go to Shenzhen every day. It's a ferry ride. And you work with the factory that's going to build your device until you get there. Yeah. And then you take it to CES. And if you get highlighted, you win. If you don't, you fail.
It's a literal needle in a haystack finding a company but lotteries
work, right?
Yeah.
Like
okay.
that
Well, somebody does win the lottery, I guess. Would be the way. Work is
work is like you can build an event around it because there's going to be a winner somewhere in here, and people want to see it. People want to be it. Like it works,
right? Okay.
For now. Because Shenzhen's pretty broken these days. Like Hong Kong.
I would like to go to a big Microsoft event like Build or Ignite again and have it. But I mean, I know I just went to Ignite, but I mean, and have it actually be big. Those events are not anywhere as big as CS or what Comdex used to be back in the day.
Well, changes are afoot, friend. So
I know.
What about? I mean, FIFA's not FIFA. That's a soccer league.
FIFA has their own thing.
IFA in Berlin, and I mean, there's still European. Computex is still
those
big.
Have gotten smaller too. What was the big? What was the big one in not Frankfurt? Somewhere in Germany. CeBIT.
CeBIT
came and went. I actually went to the last CeBIT.
Wow.
Oddly,
forgot about that.
Web Summit in Lisbon.
Yeah.
But these are. I mean, all these events are recovering. My events are recovering. Like we're all still trying to get post-pandemic.
Yeah. There's a good case to be look. In-person stuff is great. It's important, and I think there's a good case to be made for the smaller events where you can kind of just actually have a human experience and talk to people, and not get into it like you try to get into a session and some show, and you're 3,000 people back, and you're like, "Is this Bon Jovi? What's happening in here?"
Mm-hmm.
And like people are standing in the aisles, and there's no way to sit, and that correction may be healthy overall for everybody, but it was like a kick to the face. So we'll see. The next few years are going to be interesting.
I think my experience has been event teams are out of practice, venues are out of practice, attendees are out of practice. Like everybody's struggling.
That's right. We need a dummies guide to in-person events.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here. In case you hadn't heard, Home Theater Geeks is back. Each week, I bring you the latest audio-video news, tips and tricks to get the most out of your AV system, product reviews, and more. You can enjoy Home Theater Geeks only if you're a member of Club TWiT, which costs $7 a month, or you can subscribe to Home Theater Geeks by itself for only $2.99 a month. I hope you'll join me for a weekly dose of Home Theater Geekitude.